Please can you remind me if you'll be so kind, staring out into space, asking God to hear my case, trying to think of all things past. How long will my memory last? The purple angel, purple angel, purple angel, you're next to me.
Well, welcome everyone to Alzheimer's Speaks Radio. I am Lori LeBay, the founder of Alzheimer's Speaks. And bottom line, how I got into this space was my mom had dementia for 30 years. And it changed my life, changed my career, and I am now a passionate advocate to shift our dementia care culture from crisis to comfort. Alzheimer's Speaks is really an advocacy-based company providing multiple platforms to help shift that culture. We have not only the radio, but we have a blog. We do something called Dementia Chats, which is a video interview base that I do with people living with the disease, and they give us great insights. We have a wonderful YouTube channel filled with great information there, and then a website that has a resource directory. We truly believe that just having an everyday conversation with knowledgeable people, that is the way that we're going to remove the stigmas and we're going to push progress forward to, again, shift our care culture from crisis to comfort. And at our core, we believe collaboration really is the only way that we're going to win this battle. And we know that it's working thanks to each and every one of you. You see, your likes, your clicks, your shares with our content has been absolutely amazing. You have allowed us to get some fabulous recognitions, which we share with all of you, because it wouldn't have happened without each and every one of you. Dr. Oz Sherkar has named Alzheimer's Speaks as the #1 influencer online for Alzheimer's. Maria Shriver called us an architect of change. And most recently, Oprah recognized us as one of her 14 health heroes for 2018. And again, I don't say that to pat myself on the back, but to let each and every one of you know how important it is for you to share information, not just from Alzheimer's Speaks, but from other entities as well on your social media platforms with your Twitter tribes, your Facebook friends, your LinkedIn colleagues, your Pinterest peeps, because that is how people are communicating these days. That's a very trusted resource for them. And, if they're like me, the more often they see information and when they're in need, the more likely they're going to feel safe to go ahead and grab that. Because I'm sure there are, just like in my sphere of influence, many people dealing with this who haven't really come out and told us that that's an issue. People are very private about this, and so we have to encourage them to come and join the cause and help move things forward. I'd also like to add that if you're listening today, maybe you would be interested in being with us as a guest. Everybody has a story. So if you are living with dementia, if you are caring for someone, if you are a business professional with a service product or a tool that you think can assist people, we'd love to hear about it. Maybe you're a researcher, maybe you're an advocate. Come and talk to me. Just go to alzheimersspeaks.com, push the big Contact Us button in the upper right-hand corner, and I would love to talk with you further. I also want to just give a shout out to some of our partners. The Memory Cafe directory has just been so helpful to so many. Calendar Cards is the one who sponsors that. They don't charge anything to be in the directory. So if you go to memorycafedirectory.com, you can get your Memory Cafe listed in there. If you are an individual looking for a directory, you can find one there. The other day, we found a new app called the Roberto app that measures brain performance, which is absolutely fantastic. So check that out. You can go to the blog and get more information, or go to the radio show and listen to our interview with their team as well. Professional athletes have been using this, and now it's expanded to the rest of the world at all ages, which is very, 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 very cool. I also like to just shout out to the Neuro Film Festival. Every year they have a contest and to submit a video, and that is coming up. I think the deadline is March 2nd for that. So feel free to go ahead and check that out as well. We also do a lot of work with the Alzheimer's Research and Prevention Foundation, and they are really dedicated to Alzheimer's disease and, funding integrative medicine and research and providing educational training. They do a lot of outreach and memory screenings, and they truly have a holistic approach, which is wonderful. Two others I want to mention is Alzheimer's Movement, which was started by Maria Shriver, and her Move for the Minds events that typically takes place in June. So look for more information on both of those, as well as the Call Alert Center, which protects not only those with dementia, but anyone who's vulnerable, be it a young child, a college student, somebody traveling, or even our pets. So if you're worried that your loved one might wander, check out the callalertcenter.com/caregiver, and you can get more information on their product there. It's very economical. I think it's like under $15 a year for that. So with that, let's go ahead and get into our show today. I am excited to have Dr. George Tetz with us. He is the Chief Scientific Officer for the nonprofit called the Human Microbiology Institute. He is in New York and likes to deal with crosstalk between microbiota and the human body itself. So welcome, Dr. Tetz. How are you today?
Thank you very much for the introduction. So I'm fine and would be more than delighted to tell you more about our recent discoveries in the area of Alzheimer's disease.
Okay. Before we get down that path, I always like to ask our guests, one question, and that is, have you been personally touched by Alzheimer's or dementia with your, close immediate family or friends?
Yes, I have personal issues with this pathology as well. I think many of us and many people all over the world are somehow, if not directly affected, but know people who are affected by this pathology.
I agree. When I go out and speak, I can talk to a group of 1,000 people and ask them 6 questions, if their mom or dad has had it, or aunts or uncles, and I might have 3 or 4 people that are still standing, after I ask those questions that haven't been touched by the disease. It's kind of incredible, the numbers that are touched by this. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your research?
Sure. So Human Microbiology Institute is a New York-based scientific research organization which deals with the crosstalk between the microbiota and the human body. And our institute was the first to show that bacterial viruses, they are named bacteriophages, are actually the missing piece of the puzzle, acting as a primary causative agent for the development of neurodegenerative diseases. And we have shown that these bacteriophages are previously overlooked triggers that are implicated in 3 crucial pathogenic mechanisms of Alzheimer's as well as Parkinson's diseases.
Okay. I'm going to back you up just a second. If you can tell people what a microbiota is and the bacteriophages, what those
Sure.
things are.
I greatly appreciate. Thank you very much for the question, of course. So microbiota is the totality of all bacteria, viruses, and fungi that live inside each individual. All of us harbor from 1 up to 2.5 kilograms of different microbiota species within our human gut. And actually our story about the intestinal microbiome and its effect on human brain and on the term that is named as human brain axis. So bacteriophages are viruses that infect and replicate within bacterium. And very important feature is that for a very long time, bacteriophages were believed to be completely not dangerous for humans. And we were the first to show that actually bacteriophages, although they do not have the direct impact on eukaryotic cells, they possess a crucial, they play a crucial role on microbiota, thus affecting human health.
So you had talked about, kind of the gut, and it sounds like this is kind of where those microbiota are stored. Is that correct? The old
yeah, sure.
viruses?
So actually, absolutely. So microbiota, well, all our gastrointestinal tract is completely covered with the multiple bacterial viral species, but the predominant majority of microbiota is concentrated in our intestine. Just for example, 1 gram of intestinal content possess over 10 in 10th power of different bacterial species.
I would imagine everybody has these various bacterial species. There's no way to really get rid of them. Is that correct at this point, or?
Right, you're absolutely right. All of us do have a variety of different bacteriophages within our intestinal.
Okay, and are some of those good and some of those bad to have?
Well, the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that it is much more individual, because if we have to add to your proposition some more levels of complexity, because certain bacteriophages are dangerous for humans, but the danger is associated with the presence of particular bacterial hosts. So it is actually the interplay between human host and their human susceptibility to the disease, then with the presence of certain bacterial species. And the third element are bacteriophages that affect these bacterial species.
Okay, which makes sense. When it comes to dementia, they always say when you've met one person, you've met one. It's a very tricky disease, and symptoms seem to vary from party to party. I'm going to have you go ahead and talk a little bit more about your research and the importance of its discovery, because I kind of got us off track.
So, well, we have a nice, maybe even great fundamental story, and it is not another like 6-brain healthy food that can prevent Alzheimer's. No. The main importance of the discovery of phages implicated in neurodegeneration and Alzheimer's disease in particular is that it allows first to prevent and second to treat this disease. It provides us with the ability completely to rethink how we treat and prevent Alzheimer's disease, and actually to find new ways to both to prevent and, sorry for reiterating, and but to develop novel therapeutics for this pathology.
And how long have you been working on this project?
We're pioneering in bacteriophages research for the last 3 years, with some notable publications that have been published within these years, and with numerous presentations at American and European conferences.
As far as your discovery, where do you go next? What is the process? What are your goals?
Well, we have a very straightforward translational plan of our discoveries and their development in novel therapeutics. And actually, our core has great experience in drug development and drug discovery industry, and actually we know how to bring science to the market. So in short, applying the discovery of phages in Alzheimer's disease, it will be an important transformative step in neuromedicine. We will employ phages as novel therapeutic targets for Alzheimer's disease, and actually together with the development of ex vivo microbiota-based therapies, we believe that we can bring therapy of this disease to a principle and a level of efficacy. Moreover, we currently are developing a novel diagnostic systems for very early stage diagnosis of these pathologies.
Are you thinking with your discovery that there would be a development of a drug, or are you thinking we could treat this kind of with, what we take into our bodies through nutrition, or I know nothing about science, so I apologize that I'm such a novice here.
No, sorry, it's my fault. I have to be ready to tell to the non-professional audience. So actually, from my point of view, the things that have to be developed and will be developed, it will be the novel type of drugs. The question about the implementation of certain food supplements that are currently used to maintain gut microbiota of patients with Alzheimer's disease right now is arguable, and some additional studies have to be done in order to evaluate the effect of already existing probiotics and prebiotics on bacteriophages in patients with these pathologies.
Okay, so would this be on the order of like a probiotic? I mean, because everyone's kind of familiar with those. They're on the shelf.
Yes. The short answer is yes. We're going to combine the certain particular medical targets, medical drugs that will target bacteriophages, along with the replacement of certain bacterial species, meaning that yes, it will be a sort of ex vivo microbiota-based therapy as well.
Okay. So with this, have you done any studies on?
Sure. So actually, we have discovered the three crucial pathogenic mechanisms of how bacteriophages are implicated in Alzheimer's disease, based on two different types of animal models, as well as we have performed a comprehensive analysis of microbiota databases of patients with different neurodegenerative diseases. So actually, sort of discovery is based on both animal models as well as based on human data. That I want to highlight is extremely important and gives the highest relevance for the study.
The U.S., versus, let's say, overseas, have different restrictions, I would imagine, in terms of how to get through the drug phases. And, I've always heard in the U.S. it's much more stringent. Is that correct?
No, not really. Currently, the FDA requirements are very similar to the requirements for the drug discovery of European Medical Agency. So actually, they're very, very similar. But it's necessary also to highlight that the development of the drugs for the treatment of certain neurodegenerative diseases, they are highlighted. They're green lighted by these agencies. And actually, all drugs right now, the majority of the drugs that are in the development, they do have so-called fast-track status, meaning that the both FDA and European Medical Agency wants to see the medicines to be developed for the patients as soon as possible.
Well, and I would imagine was it Pfizer that just dropped out of development of drugs? I would imagine that puts things even at a higher level with less companies out there, given it's just such almost an epidemic state, and yet we've got no real cure, and we really haven't had a cause. And it sounds like you're you're looking at that this truly might be the cause.
I just want to tell that I completely agree with you, and particularly with your comment that the current status for these diseases is very similar to the epidemics.
There's been so much talk over the years about the gut kind of being the source of this, and it's been pushed down for so long. Have you felt that you've really had an uphill battle, with your discoveries in trying to get this legitimized?
Of course, some additional studies are required down the road, and they will be definitely done. But generally speaking, all the time, the scientific community is completely in agreement that the development of different multifaceted neurodegenerative diseases, including Alzheimer's, is the interplay between the genetic susceptibility and environmental factors. The value of genetic susceptibility and different environmental factors, it is something that is right now under the intensive discussion. However, the discovery of bacteriophages as previously unrecognized environmental factors opens a completely new, allows to review the existing paradigm for the development of these diseases, because nobody controls the presence of bacteriophages and their role.
Okay. So when you're talking environmental factors, can you give us some examples?
Well, sure. It's the food, it's pollution, it's water, it's living habits, it's day-to-day activity and day-to-day mental activity.
Okay.
It is all the factors that affect human being, and based on the presence of certain genetic mutations that give certain individuals a high predisposition for the development of Alzheimer's disease, they may be an important triggering factors for the development of pathology.
Okay. Have you gotten pushback from the food industry?
We perform right now a certain studies in our lab is studying the connections and linkage of bacteriophages found in food with the development of certain pathologies, and the details of the studies as well as the results will be announced a little bit later this year.
Okay. What about had talked with environmental, kind of lifestyle. What about airwaves between the microwaves and the cell phones and, all the wireless stuff that's going on? Is that part of this too?
Sure, it is the part of this too. However, I think they are a little bit less well recognized and well studied areas and well studied environmental factors.
Okay.
However, definitely they should affect, and there are multiple ways how can they affect human beings, including the effect of such factors on microbiota as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that's the environmental factors. I mean, that's just such a wide scope. That's got to be, I would think, kind of fascinating to look at all of those different factors and how it's impacting our bodies as a whole. You had mentioned, and I'm not sure I understood this correctly, but I want to just talk about this, because when I think of viruses, I think of kind of a cold. And you had mentioned that the microbiota are kind of old viruses that live in our body. So when we get a virus, does it not go away? We just kind of think it's gone? We have the symptoms under control?
Well, no. Bacterial viruses, they differ significantly from eukaryotic viruses that affect humans, like HIV or like flu virus. Mm-hmm. So actually, in our recent paper, we have introduced a term named microbiota disease. that we believe gives a little bit more accurate background of the status that is well known as dysbiosis. Because the presence of certain bacterial viruses on the one hand is essential to maintain healthy gut microbiota. However, certain bacteriophages may be highly harmful for certain people who possess and to contain certain bacterial species in their gut. We're not talking and not claiming that all bacteriophages are dangerous. No. The question is that certain bacteriophages are dangerous for certain humans.
So what are kind of the next steps for the development of your discovery?
So currently we conduct additional studies in patients with Parkinson's disease and some other neurodegenerative pathologies. And it is an important part that will give us a broader understanding of the role of different phages in different diseases. And along with it, we right now submitted a number of grants in order to facilitate our scientific discoveries. With respect to the translational potential, so as I mentioned, we explore the possibility to use certain factors to trigger bacteriophages, as well as we develop novel algorithms for microbiota replacement.
And as far as funding goes, how can you talk about that? Is that something that you're in need of, or do you have grants for that?
Well, every non-for-profit scientific research organization is looking for the financial support, and grants are just only one of the types for such a support.
Can you tell us, where other funding comes
Sure.
from?
So other funding, they are from their individuals, from philanthropic individuals who deals with their philanthropic innovations in Alzheimer's disease, and we also explore possibility for the collaboration with pharmaceutical companies. However, I guess we'll be more flexible to do so once our discoveries will be a little bit more advanced.
Is there anything that our audience could do to help with your further development?
Well, we're currently also be looking for people who can be donors for the certain specimens, and actually some members of our scientific core can take care of it. Particularly, we are interested in patients who are located in the United States. So we have actually a broad collaboration with different universities here in States. However, we would be more than happy to figure out some more to build an individual pipeline for obtaining their well-characterized clinical assessments.
Okay.
So in any case, we'll be more than happy for any ideas, suggestions using our website and using contact form on our website, and we'll try to answer all the questions.
Okay. And then for your trials, is that something that people have to come in for, or is it,
Right.
how does that
Right.
work? Because all of them are a little different.
Right. Once we will launch the clinical trials, of course, we'll be looking for the patients to run them. However, I believe that the beginning of the clinical trials, based on the existing regulatory pathway of drug discovery, would take additional 18, maybe 24 months down the road.
Anything else that you would like to share with our audience?
no, I don't want to become too academic, and but I really believe that the discovery that is done will help a lot of people, and actually will help not only to treat, but what, from my perspective, is even more important, to prevent the development of Alzheimer's disease.
If they want to get a hold of you, Dr. Tetz, they can go ahead and contact the Human Microbiology Institute. They can go to the website, which is www.HMI for the Human Microbiology Institute -us.com. That's www.hmi-us.com, or they can get a hold of you via email at g.tetz as in zebra at hmi-us.com. Again, that's g.tetz at hmi-us.com. And for those that want to use snail mail and like to correspond that way, the address to the Human Microbiology Institute is 423 West 127th Street. That's 423 West 127th Street, New York, New York. And they would be more than glad to talk with you further and see what connections there are, if it's through philanthropy or if it's through a clinical trial. They would love to talk with you. So thank you so much for your time today, Dr. Tetz. Really appreciate it. And I wish you guys a lot of luck. We definitely need some breakthroughs. We haven't had such good news on the Alzheimer's dementia front lately, so it would be wonderful if the research you're doing is it.
Thank you very much. Thank you once again for time and opportunity to share our discoveries with you. And I really hope that we will bring something new to our patients and to the market as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And for our listeners, again, please feel free to share this episode, as well as we've got 6 years worth of shows that you can go back and listen to anytime. Until next week, have a brilliant day. Bye now.
Hi, I'm Lori LeBay, and I wanted to tell you about Alzheimer's Speaks, which is another great podcast. You see, my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I felt lost. Did you know every 3 seconds someone in the world is being diagnosed with dementia? Odds are it's going to hit your families too. We want to help you connect to services, products, tools, research, and stories so you can be prepared. Please subscribe to Alzheimer's Speaks on your favorite podcast platform.